Welcome to Cumberland Unfiltered podcast. This is the Rhode Report.
Well, I like that. It's got a nice ring to it.
The Rhode Report.
I like it.
Anyway, so I'm Caleb. I'm your host. We got Brad here. And tonight we have a recurring guest, somebody that's been here before. The one and only Warwick School Committee President, Mr. Shaun Galligan.
Thank you both for having me back.
How you doing, my friend?
I'm doing very well. I'm excited to be back. As you mentioned, I had an opportunity to come on the show earlier this year, and that was a good time, and we had a great discussion. I believe we were discussing school conversations within communities and how sometimes things could be taken out of context. And that was fun last time. So I'm excited to be back. I appreciate the opportunity whenever we could discuss schools and promote education here in the state.
Yeah, so Brad, I reached
Welcome
out.
back.
I reached out to him. I don't know. It's about 2 weeks ago or so, maybe a month ago, and I asked him, or he was starting to talk about unfunded mandates.
Yes.
And I'll be honest, I don't really understand the unfunded mandate.
We touched on that a little bit, I think, last show, but
Tiny bit.
probably wouldn't be a bad idea to clarify exactly what an unfunded mandate is, just for the people listening.
Yeah, so it is exactly what you would expect it to be with that title. It is a mandate from the Rhode Island Department of Education or through some sort of state legislation that is not funded by the state. So the local towns and cities are required to adhere to that requirement and pay for it. And so some of these, I totally without funding. And when you just like in any business, your largest expense, right, is your compensation and your benefits for your workforce. Yep. It's always going to be, unless they're taking $1 to work for your company or work for your city or town, it's always going to be the largest portion of your your budget. Yeah. And but then for school departments, right around 2 is transportation. Typically, it's an expensive cost, and then usually 3 is on any mandates from the Rhode Island Department of Education.
That's
and there's
your third largest expense?
For us, yes.
That's not funded.
It's not funded. So you need to pay people because they've got to teach, or they've got to maintain the facilities, or they've got to lead the district. And then you need busing to provide transportation for students who might not have transportation. And then you get this last big large bucket that says, hey, these are the things we want you doing. And I'm not challenging the mandates themselves. There's obviously for some of these reason. Right, somebody in the field professionally of education said, we feel these would be beneficial. However, if you're going to mandate it, one of 2 things should happen, and this is where my issue comes in. Either help us out from the state level, which the state budget this past year was a difficult one for those, in the House and on the Senate side. Yeah. Or the second thing would be give us some fiscal autonomy. And I'll dive into this real deep for you in a second here. Yeah. But when I say fiscal autonomy, my wife goes to the supermarket and runs all of her errands on Saturday morning. She buys the cleaning products and condiments for our house from Walmart, not from Stop and Shop. She buys them from Walmart. And why? Because the price is less at Walmart for those specific items. Now, the objective is still to clean have items to clean the house, right? That would be the mandate. Have a clean house. Yeah. Okay, but I'm not mandating where she buys that. She's going to buy it at the cheapest cost, and the house still comes out clean at the end of the day because of those products that she's buying. Or we have ketchup and mustard for our hamburgers and hot dogs, right? Okay?
Yep.
That's it. The objective's been met, and we are being fiscally responsible with how we spend our money. In terms of the unfunded mandates, in some of these instances that I'll discuss with you tonight, we're told you must use this vendor.
By the state.
Yeah. Not like
whose pocket are they in?
A classic example would be transportation for out-of-district students going out of district. Again, just to clarify, not saying that we shouldn't provide these kids the opportunity to have transportation to another school district, a charter school, a parochial school, okay? But right now we're paying in Warwick $3.9 million for this transportation, and we're told you have to use statewide, the vendor.
Really?
The ride is telling you have to use statewide.
Got to use statewide. But we've already went and quoted it out, and we found out that using 2 vendors, and instead of running a full-size bus for just a few students, we could run a 9-person passenger van, and we can cut that 3.9 down by a third to almost 2/3. And that would be a savings for the taxpayers in Warwick. That would be a savings
That's
for the tax.
huge.
Yeah, and it's not just Warwick. This type of stuff is impacting all cities and towns. So when we talk about inflation, when we talk about the age of the average Rhode Island citizen or taxpayer and how it's going up and these people are getting on fixed costs, rather than having to annually increase your taxes on these people that are on fixed incomes and already facing inflation for regular commodities or just general, energy costs in their household, why not allow some autonomy for the local education authorities to be able to go and shop the best prices on these things?
Yeah.
Not saying, again, cut transportation. Totally, let's give them
Hey,
transportation.
Not trying to cut pay either.
Yeah,
It's
not
coming out of your budget, though. Why don't you have the option of how to spend it?
that
And
is
they're forcing you to spend it.
that is a question I can't answer. But if somebody finds the answer to that question, I would love it because I'll sleep better at night. Because this is common sense.
Common sense.
Like, this will be a savings to people.
Oh, you just said it. What? There's no common sense up there. I'm sorry.
Well, common sense ain't too common
you said
anymore.
common sense, and I instantly said, "Oh, it'll never change." Then,
That's crazy.
sorry.
Yeah, no, I think there are
derailed
some
it.
good people at the State House. I think it's
No, I
just a
know.
matter of this isn't something that's had a spotlight on it before. And when I ran for school committee in Warwick, I wanted to make a big change. And as I delved deeper into our budget, I learned about these unfunded mandates, and I just kind of went, that doesn't make any sense. And then I realized if I can change this, it's not just a benefit for my residents, my constituents in Warwick, it will benefit the majority of the state.
Yeah.
It will benefit, if not all of the state. And so that is why this is something I'm extremely passionate about, and I really want to see to it that we get it addressed.
So, quick question, like budget-wise, dollar-wise, as like a whole, like what, how much do these unfunded mandates say in, the Warwick district? How much does that equate to?
$19.1 million.
$19 million.
$19 million. Yes.
That's not a drop in the bucket.
Let that sink in. For a
It
minute.
is not a drop in the bucket. And you probably have seen it in the news of late. Warwick's facing tough times
Yes.
financially for our school department. And, we could easily address the structural deficit that has accumulated over the last decade or so. And we could address it if this is addressed, if unfunded mandates are addressed. And it's something that I was working on even before the financial issues promulgated in the city or came about and were verified, because it makes sense to address it. And so, whether we were in financial disarray or not, this is a way I would still be going after this to open up capital space, because then you can invest into our aging infrastructure. And Warwick's not an anomaly. We're an old state, so a lot of these cities and towns have old buildings. And the only way that your city or your town will invest to fix those buildings is either through bonding money, impacts the taxpayers, or raising taxes to increase your maintenance of effort.
Yeah.
But what if you could open up money by just spending it more in a fiscally responsible manner or efficiently by shopping the best prices? And unfunded mandates impact that.
100%, instead of having to raise somebody's taxes by going out and getting a $10 million bond.
Correct.
It's like, because we have that issue here in Cumberland, and I see it across the board. It's like infrastructure is, nobody spends money on infrastructure. They all want to have a bond for it. They want to wait for it to fail. It's a very reactive type, look at the bridges in the state, for example, right? Like very reactive. Like we should have known these bridges were going to fail at some point.
And we had
20 years ago, 30 years ago, and been chipping away at them one by one.
We had the minority leader on to talk about, and we did talk briefly about the bridges in Providence. And I know that's not really what we're talking about tonight, but just
Well, no, it's part of the infrastructure.
Yeah.
It's like instead of putting a bond for it, if you can find it within your existing budget to pay for it, you don't have to increase the taxes for the taxpayer.
Yeah.
Boom, home run, everybody wins.
And I think in Cumberland we're hitting both of those this coming year. We're hitting both.
Yeah, we're getting
an
whacked.
increase on
Taxes
on
and
taxes
water bill.
and the water bill, and we're also hitting I think we're hitting a breaking point on the bonds.
Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry.
Oh yeah, no, we've definitely extended ourselves on that.
Yeah.
But I mean, how does a state expect you guys to come up with $19 million? What's the total budget in Warwick? School budget, I should say.
That's an interesting question. Ironically, yeah, we
Brad, why did you ask that question? No, just kidding.
we're 3 months into the fiscal year, and we're still trying to figure that out. Last night, we had a meeting at our city council chambers. School committee passed a $198 million budget. The school department wanted $199. The city came in underfunding it initially, but right now we're trying to figure out, with the structural deficit and how we need to pay that off and address it, what is the real number that we're going to get for FY26? So it's still to be determined, but let's call it the 198 that the school committee passed, or 198.5. 19.1 million in unfunded mandates. That makes that up. So if we're talking about 2.2 million needed more for the Warwick School Department's budget, if these unfunded mandates were addressed conservatively, if you can knock down that 19.1 by a third, even a third, just a third, that savings right there addresses the structural deficit.
Yeah, handles it.
And even if we didn't have a structural deficit, it takes pressure off the city and not having to raise taxes and increase our maintenance of effort each year.
Yeah, which we don't want to do currently in this current situation right now with the increased costs of everything, including your utility costs, which I know has been a big talking point in this state anyway.
Yeah, no, for your viewers at home that live here in Cumberland or whatever city they're tuning in from, I would highly suggest that they reach out to their school committee, drop an email to their representative or to the chair and ask them, hey, what are the unfunded mandates that impact the city of Cumberland or the town of Cumberland or wherever they're tuning in from, and then say, what does it equate to? What is the cost? And then ask them what they're doing to address this with the Rhode Island Department of Education.
So for like $19 million, does that mean that, because I'm assuming that you have some kind of budget set forth in order to handle infrastructure changes and upgrades and stuff like that? Like where do you get where do you find $19 million?
So in Warwick, we passed just a little over $90 million in bonds that were voted on in 2018 and 2019 to renovate our elementary and a couple of our middle schools. We also just passed in 2022 a $350 million bond that's going to be constructing a new toll gate and new Pilgrim High schools on the north and south side of the city. So we put a lot of pressure already on the taxpayers with those bonds.
Oh, yeah.
But they were necessary because these buildings were failing, and we were spending a substantial amount of money in copays with our insurance company, almost to the point where our insurance company was kind of saying, we feel like you're using us as a funding mechanism to renovate your facilities. So, they're not covering as much as they should be covering because that's their belief. So in terms of to address your question, you just don't magically find that money. No. What does it mean? It means you're cutting funding from somewhere else within your budget. And you never want to cut after-school programs like athletics or the arts from the kids because they deserve that. That's an outlet for many of these kids. For some of these kids, it's why they go to school. So, but those are the decisions that start to face the school committees. They're difficult decisions, and they're even more difficult for the administration to put forward, because you can't cut teachers. And people always say teachers are overpaid. They're making too much money. Think about your positions in municipalities, who you hire, right? And I know we're getting off track here on the unfunded mandates, but I'm so passionate about this stuff. Name another position in a municipality that says you need a bachelor's degree, a master's degree possibly, and a master's plus 30 depending on what you're working on.
Yeah.
You've got social workers. You can't just become a social worker just by going to take a certificate program or something. You've got psychologists. You've got to be principals or administrators at the overseeing. My brother's an administrator, and he went to Harvard. He has a master's in education administration. That's costly, and we know what the cost of college is these days. It's more than my mortgage at my house for some of these schools. So, that portion of the budget makes total sense that you pay that much to teachers, and outside of unfunded mandates. I hope I don't set off our hosts here, but outside of unfunded mandates, the other massive glaring issue that really the state needs to look at here is our prior governor, before leaving, decided to make a huge change to the state pension plan.
Pensions. Yeah.
And now they have this rule of 95 where they need to do X amount of years plus 30 and hit that 95 number. So in Warwick, we have about 850 teachers. 700 are top step within our contract.
Oh, wow.
And many would have already retired if they could collect on their pension. But because of that pension reform, we're now holding on. We're so top heavy on that end with top step teachers because of that pension reform. And there was and that impacts cities and towns just as much as these unfunded mandates. That reform needs to be there. I'm not going to go into all the other components of that reform that she brought in, like the COLAs and everything else. Just that one piece of when they can retire. Put a threshold on there of 25 years.
Yeah, but I mean, and let's think about it. Like, this is just Warwick. So every city and town in the state has an unfunded mandate, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh, there you go. That's going to pick up the difference on your pension, because I'm guessing they were underfunding the pension, which is why they decided to do the reform. But they're going to keep pushing their unfunded mandates through, though.
Yeah.
So you got to love how that works.
That was well before I got on, so I can't say why they did it. There must be a logical reason. Reason.
So this is something that that comes down by ride, right? Like the unfunded mandates.
Yep.
So how is that? Obviously, it's got to go before the House and the Senate to get voted on in a budget, right? Or how does that work?
I'm not entirely. I believe that would be the case, but I'm not entirely certain on the process there. If RIDE has the ability to just put out these mandates, or if it gets actually solidified in legislation. But the legislation that was going through the House last session was House Bill 5399, and it just. We were discussing this before the show started. A longtime friend and chief of staff of the minority leader, Mike Chippendale. I've known her my whole life. I played baseball with her boys. We were just speaking, and I said, telling her how things were going, and I said, one thing that just doesn't make any sense are these unfunded mandates. And I started explaining them to her, and she, it's kind of like one of those. You've got to be wrong because it just makes so much sense that this is an issue and that should be addressed. Like, you got that look on someone's face.
Yeah.
But then when you actually we brought a bunch of people to the table from the school department to the State House, and all we did was just sit down and have a brief working session with Mr. Chippendale. And it was great. He was just absorbing it and taking it all in. And there was no reason why we went to the Republican side of the House with this. Like I said, it was just an organic conversation. If she was working with the left side of the House, we would have brought it there. At the end of the day, it's a nonpartisan bill. It's a common sense bill. It's one that's going to save residents of this state money.
So let me ask you this question. Do you think that if it had gone to the other side, that it probably would have passed? Or does that put you in a tight spot?
Oh, you mean if it could run it through a...
Yeah, so if you would have taken the bill instead of to the minority leader to the other side, do you think that something would have happened?
No, I don't. In the first year, no. And the reason for that is it's such a big item. Like, we're trying to eat the entire apple at once here.
Yeah. And
so from a strategic perspective, I guess we probably should have just gone at one thing at a time. Mm-hmm. And because it's overwhelming. These men and women up at the State House, they're voting on dozens and dozens of bills, especially at the end of a session. If you go up there, it's quite amazing to see.
Oh, yeah.
They're going through like dozens and dozens of bills. You see them running from meeting room to meeting room, trying to keep track and figure out where they stand, and then look at the notes from another session that they maybe didn't get into. So there's a lot going on in those final weeks of session. And so I just think something of this nature that's so big, we probably should have gone at it a little at a time. But, touching on a couple of the other unfunded mandates that just, the big push in the state right now, right, is the trades. Saying, not every child goes on to college.
Correct.
So some go into the trades.
So you're saying the big push is in the states is to get trades back into the schools?
Well, no, they're putting a bigger emphasis on it. So career and technical education. And so while that's a big focus, at the same time, the state says, but we also need to gauge the performance of our high schoolers. So what do? Well, in other grade levels, you have your standardized testing, right? Your RICAS test. Well, they're going to use PSATs and SATs as their measure. Test which you have to pay for. But not every student wants to go on to college. So let's say Brad wants to go to college, but he doesn't have the money to pay for the PSAT or the SAT. Makes total sense that the school district picks up that cost for Brad. But let's say you do not want to go to college.
I
right?
don't like college.
We're going to pay for your PSAT and your SAT, and you just sit there and you just check the box because you don't really care. You know you're not going to college. You might be going into
Abracadabra.
You might be going you might be going into the military. You might be going to a trade school. You know what you want to do, and that's it. But we have to pay for that.
Do they still?
We pay for that because that's a measure that the state uses to determine,
because the state wants it.
They want to know how the high schools are performing, so they use that data.
Do they still issue the ASVAB in schools?
I don't know the answer to that.
Because I know when I was recruiting, we did.
What is the ASVAB?
For the military.
Yeah, it's the military
placement test, right?
Test.
Yeah.
And I know that I personally, as a recruiter, did a lot of administering of that at some of the schools. But I was in Massachusetts, so
I don't know the answer to that. But another one that's, another unfunded mandate for you to scratch your head at is, so you recall that the state a few years back, they passed this thing where if you had a certain average, you could go to an in-state college basically for free, or
free.
The partnership with CCRI. Okay, so those students can go to CCRI for free. Well, there's something called dual enrollment, where if your district partners with CCRI, you can go and high school seniors can go and start to accumulate college credits.
Yeah, my stepdaughter did that.
Okay.
With CCRI.
Yes, correct. We get charged for that. The school district gets charged for that.
And that's an unfunded mandate.
But yeah, you have to give the student that opportunity, which again, I'm not saying don't give that student that opportunity, but how come when they graduate in June, they're now there for free?
Yeah, right.
But prior to them graduating, the school district's paying the tuition.
So they're making you guys pick up the bill.
It makes it makes no sense. It makes
so it's really not free.
No, that's so just
nothing is
for free at the end.
Yeah.
Last fiscal year in Warwick, that was a $125,000 tab, and to put that into context, that's maybe 2, possibly 3 TAs. Warwick has a blossoming population of students that require special services. Some of those individualized education plans require 1-to-1 TAs. And so we're trying to figure out how do we staff to meet that IEP because it's a legal obligation.
Yeah.
So if you get 3 students that come into your district or they've been screened in mid-year and they require a 1-to-1 TA, well, $125,000, that's 3 employees. And, instead we're paying for the student to go to CCRI, but if they just waited 4 more months, if we're in the month of February, they're going for free anyways because the state allows it. But while they're with us and they want dual enrollment, we're getting charged. It makes no sense. It should be a partnership.
No sense.
If anything, since the Community College of Rhode Island is a state school, you would want to have these kids going there, and the high school's promoting it. So that way they've got this nice pipeline of students coming through. But it's like we're looking, well, it's costing us money, but we don't want to take that opportunity away from the kids. So I'm not. I want to make it very clear to your viewers at home because I don't want anyone to think man, this guy's talking about cut these mandates and take away these opportunities. It's like
they're going to say it anyway. Yeah. They don't listen. All they hear is take away the mandate so they don't have the funding for this and for that and for this.
The state's writing checks that butts can't cash.
I'll give you my worst one. You guys ready for it?
I'm ready.
Yeah.
This is the worst one. Okay.
Yikes.
So I told you my total number was 19.1.
Yep.
This one comes in at 13.84 million.
Holy shit.
All right.
You ready for this?
I'm sitting at the edge of my seat.
It is out of district tuition.
Yikes.
Out of district tuition.
Sending kids to different schools.
Yes. Primarily through the Pathways programs.
Which is fine, and it's fine.
I know I have a good friend. Her daughter is going to North Kingston for the arts.
Yeah.
For performing arts. That is not a program we offer in the city of Warwick.
Right.
Absolutely give that child that opportunity.
Yep.
Absolutely 100%. But for a pathway to be a pathway, for a program to be considered a certified pathway program, it must be approved by Rhode. It must meet Rhode's rubric. So if Brad in Cumberland is the shop teacher and he has a certified shop class,
He probably cut his fingers off.
I like to keep those.
Maybe that's why kids are going elsewhere. Are you teaching shop out here in
I was
Cumberland?
going to say, we used to have shop back in the day.
Anyway, I didn't mean to derail.
No, it's fine. It's
Go
fine.
ahead. So Brad's teaching shop.
In Cumberland. I'm teaching shop in Warwick. Both programs are certified by Rhode as pathways. But they both meet the requirement.
Okay.
Now a Cumberland student can leave Cumberland and come to Warwick at the expense of Cumberland.
So is that something that shouldn't
Why?
be?
Well, why the hell would that make sense?
I mean, why? So why would the Cumberland student want to do that? Number one, I would want to know that.
What we're primarily seeing, or the belief, because nobody will ever say this, but the belief is that it's for athletics. It's a means of recruiting athletes, and so it's
interesting.
And so again, I want to be very clear. If a district doesn't have a program, but another one does, absolutely foot that bill. But if Cumberland has the Woods class, and a child elects to come to Warwick and come to our Woods class, at that point it shouldn't be on the taxpayers of Cumberland.
No, right.
Because the city has done it's provided that resident, that student, that education in town.
But what if you were even though you teach the same thing across the board, what if you were a far better teacher than he was, and that kid really wanted to do something?
It's program based. It's program based.
Yeah, I was gonna say that shouldn't matter.
It's program based, but we paid in fiscal year 24 nearly $1 million to one particular school district.
Because I am a proponent of school choice. I think that parents should be able to send their kids where they want to send them.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, but the question, not just carte blanche.
Well, I mean,
you'd have everybody going to Barrington.
Well, the thing is, though, I understand what you're saying.
You can't just carte blanche say, "Oh, we're going to pump this school full of kids because I'm coming out of."
I mean, this is a conversation that can be had. Like, you could have a whole show on this conversation, right?
That's why it was a big legislation. To your question earlier, whether this was introduced by the left or introduced by the right. I don't know if in year one of this getting out there and educating people, which is why I really appreciate today you guys having me on. I'm going to go to the Young Republicans of Rhode Island. I'm going to speak about this as well on October 16th. I'm hoping to engage with the Young Democrats of Rhode Island and speak at one of their upcoming events. It's huge that we get out and educate people on this, because your viewers at home might be going, what he's saying, it can't just be as clear cut as it is, because it just makes so much sense to change it. And I want to make it very clear. It is that clear cut.
Yeah.
It is that common sense.
That's crazy.
Well, I mean, it almost sounds as though some of the individuals who reap the benefits of the mandate
Allegedly.
Well, it's costing Warwick taxpayers 13 point whatever million.
$4 million, baby.
I'm saying
that's crazy.
It almost looks, and I don't know this, but I'm just somebody looking outside. It almost looks like there's somebody within those different services that knows a guy.
Well, I mean, think about it. Why would the state push them all to have to use statewide transportation
instead of Durham, First Student?
Yeah, exactly. Why not
Ocean State?
I mean, any guy who runs a business knows when you quote something out, you get a minimum of 3 bids.
Yep.
And that creates a competitive atmosphere.
Well, that doesn't really happen in Cumberland either, unfortunately.
No, it doesn't. No, government doesn't have to do that because
they
they're not spending their own money. If it's
Yeah.
coming out of their pocket, they'd be doing it.
They call it OPM, right?
Other people's money. Yeah. Eventually, eventually you run out of that.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good. Yeah, to your school choice statement, I'm neither pro school choice or against it. But if we continue down your thought process there,
yes,
then that means we should change how we fund schools from a state level perspective,
of course.
and locally. But under the current funding mechanisms where you have your local appropriation and your state appropriation, this guise of it's through a pathways program, but really it's school choice. We either have school choice or we don't have school choice.
That's the argument that they use to keep it moving forward. Yeah, no, there has to be a reform in the way that education is run if you're going to do the school choice. Yep. That's why I said it's a bigger conversation to be had than making it so generic. But so
to get into the minutia of it, which I'm sure we could do that, but it's a just on a surfacey level. I mean, it doesn't make sense.
No,
but that goes to something else too. So you said that you feel like this was too big of a topic to bite off for the legislation to take it through. In a way, it's just one aspect of the budget, right? Like everybody, it seems at this point, I'm speaking for Cumberland, listening to you talk, it seems that the principalities or the municipalities that are in Rhode Island are all struggling somewhat fiscally, and it does center a lot around the school school budget.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's I think it's only going to get worse, actually.
Just the idea of the word, an unfunded mandate.
Yep.
So
Like that would be the equivalent of me being able to afford a $500,000 house. I go out and spend $1 million, and the rest of that, the difference is unfunded.
well, we almost have
So
that
where am I
in
coming
our-
up with the money for that?
We almost have that in our
Like if you don't
our
have it,
energy.
you don't spend it.
We almost have that in our energy right now too. We have unfunded mandates, it seems like, which might not be called that, but the requirement to put 17% towards clean energy,
30%.
30%.
If you cut out the government interference in your electric bill, it's 30%.
Yeah, so it's all across the board. But back to what you were saying. You said that this seemed, legislative-wise, to be a big bite to take off.
Yeah.
And in reality, it's not a big bite to take off because there are all types of reforms that need to happen within school funding.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
This is one aspect of it.
Yeah, you're 100% correct. Another example would be, so you know how we were talking about the money follows the student, right?
Yeah.
So that out-of-district tuition, the money would follow the student. It's the taxpayers' money in Warwick, but now it's going out to North Kingston, Smithfield, Pontiac, Cumberland, wherever, Cranston, call it whatever. DCYF would be another example. And again, I feel the need to always preface this because it is a touchy subject. If a child's in a very difficult situation, I'm not saying, hey, because there's going to be a cost here, we shouldn't take this child on.
Right.
Absolutely move the child out of whatever dangerous, harmful setting that they are in and relocate them and put them into a safer setting for them. But if a child leaves the town of Cumberland via DCYF, and they're placed in Warwick. And I just keep using our two towns because I know this way we won't irritate anyone else.
Yeah,
because
exactly.
we're like, and for the record,
100%.
I want it to be known that I Cumberland's baseball programs these days are absolutely destroying the rest of the state. So that's why I'm using Cumberland as well to take jabs at this town for once. Big baseball guy, so I really want to take some shots at the town of Cumberland's baseball programs. But
That's all Brad's doing.
they're winning everything these days at every level, but I digress. If a child comes out of Cumberland to Warwick via DCYF and they get placed in Warwick for schooling, you would think in theory the money should follow the student, that Cumberland should have to pick up the tab for that student that is left and gone. But in case...
My understanding that's the way it works.
But it's not happening.
So let's run through that again. So if DCYF takes a child out of the Cumberland school system,
Yes.
and now they're living in Warwick,
Temporarily relocated, to Warwick. Yep.
Warwick, and they go to the Warwick school system.
Yep.
Cumberland should have to pay for that.
And if you followed the standard process for out-of-district tuition, the money should follow the student into Warwick. However, in this case, for FY24, Warwick paid $300,000 in DCYF placements.
I have to think about that a little bit more before I make a...
Well, no, but think about it. So what you're saying basically, so like in Cumberland, we spend roughly $14,000 and change per student. And so technically that 14 and change should follow the student to Warwick.
That would make sense.
That's how
if
you pay for it. That's how you pay for the school support, right? I mean, that's what goes into that.
At minimum, yeah.
So what if in Cumberland, I decide that I want to buy a house in Warwick, and me and my family up and move and go to Warwick.
Yep.
And now our kid is in the Warwick school system.
Yep.
Does Cumberland still need to pay for that?
No, if your child is now relocated to the city of Warwick,
Paying taxes.
But isn't that what's happening though with when they relocated via DCYF? Isn't that what's happening?
No, because the student technically, their family is still within the originating
right.
town of Cumberland.
Just with a foster family,
Yeah,
say.
or you're with someone from the
relative.
state that's watching them,
Right.
And they're at maybe a hotel or a safe house that provides them a safe, clean, healthy environment.
But either way, Warwick's not getting the money.
I understand. So
Either way, Warwick's not getting the money, and
Right.
and this isn't a Warwick thing. I'm not here,
Sure.
and
No,
I'm just
no.
using our two
These are
cities and
towns
towns
example.
for
Yeah.
examples.
That's all I was doing as well.
This is
Just
statewide. This is statewide. This is across the board. This is that is the practice. So these unfunded mandates. You talked about like multi-language learners. They're increasing in every city and town.
Yeah.
And now, because based on what the volume you have, there's even more unfunded mandates. Yeah. So here we are, we're trying to control our head count from a personnel perspective because of the budgetary constraints. When we hit a threshold, Rhode says you got to hire a multi-language coordinator.
All based on numbers.
All based on numbers. Who's going to pay for that person? We do.
So that's a whole other conversation about where to cut funding in school budgets.
Oh God, yeah.
I mean, there's so many different. Did you listen to our episode with Anne-Marie Banfield?
But the school systems and the committees are pigeonholed because the state is dictating how they get to, or how they can't save money because they dictate how you spend it.
Yeah, the term that we like to use with regards to our budget of what we can actually talk about is discretionary spend. But do you consider toilet paper and paper towels for the restrooms discretionary spend or a necessity?
It's a necessity.
Those expenses from our vendor fall under discretionary spend because, again, the big three buckets are transportation, unfunded mandates, and your compensation and benefits, those three buckets. And then, of course, special services, so children that require, some sort of special education assistance, whether they go to an alternative education academy like a Bradley and you pay $80,000 for that kid to go to Bradley. So if you talk about Cumberland, you said, what, $14,000 per student?
Right, roughly, yeah.
So, $80,000 for one child to go to Bradley. How many Cumberland kids that don't require an alternative education, setting can go to Cumberland for that cost?
Yeah, right.
And be paid for by the taxpayers. And again, I'm not saying that the child shouldn't get that. They require it for a reason. Their IEP, their 504s, et cetera, dictate that that's what they need. They need to go somewhere else because maybe that community cannot provide those services to that child. But, it's just these costs, they're all amounting to 80, 90% of, or 95% of a school department's budget. And I forget which one of you brought it up before, but we're starting to see fiscal calamity in all cities and towns. This past year, I believe there were 4 or 5 cities that fell on hard times relative to their school budgets, Warwick being one of them. I believe Coventry was another one. And I'm drawing a blank on the other 3, but there were 5 that had multi-million-dollar deficits, and it's because these unfunded mandates and everything. And it's an imperfect process, by the way.
Sure.
Budgeting for the school department is an imperfect process because if you think about this, school departments have to start to build their budget before the towns and the cities build their budget.
Yeah.
So we get going early in the year. So our budget, we pass it in April. The city council passes the city's budget in May. In June, that is when the state passes their budget. That's when we know what our state appropriation will be. So when we pass our budget in April, we're kind of like forecasting. We're guessing.
I think that's what happened in Cumberland. That's what happened in Cumberland.
Yeah, what do they call it? Because we're not on par with the state budget. We're what do they call that?
What do you mean?
I'm drawing a blank right now.
So
we have to basically forecast like 3 or 4 months out.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
So I know. Go ahead. Sorry.
It's students can continue to come in and out of your district all through the year.
Yeah.
And so if let's say Brad's son comes in and he has an IEP and requires a one-to-one teacher, now in the month of October, we're hiring a one-to-one. And let's say Brad's daughter comes in December and she requires a 504. Now, like, Brad's son might be not a $14,000 student, but a $17,000 student.
Slow.
I'm not. All right, we can use my boys. We can use one of my. Pick one of my 3. What do you want to use? We'll name them all Shaun, Shaun, and Shaun.
I'm sorry.
Brad's son, Shaun.
I couldn't resist. I'm sorry.
Okay. Yeah. That's not being funded. It's not part of the original budget.
Well, yeah. So
all
now,
of a sudden, now you're going to make up for it the next year.
And it's and again, you can't go and cut transportation when you have another student come in. You can't go and cut an unfunded mandate when a new student comes in that you didn't plan for that requires a $36,000 TA. Right? You can't. So now you look at that 5 to 10% discretionary spend, which is made up of copy paper, classroom materials, toilet paper, paper towels. It's like that is what really the school committees have in terms of discretionary spend at that point.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
that's crazy. So is there what is the process for this pathways? So do you file out a paperwork, and is there an approval process on the other end? So if I wanted to go from the Cumberland woodworking class, or my kid wants to go from Cumberland woodworking to Warwick woodworking,
Yep.
what is that process?
You just go to that school district and enroll like you would anywhere else, and then
No approval process, not based on amount of students in a class type thing? Or
No, and the worst part about that Pathways program is, let's say my son wants to leave work and go to Cumberland, right, and take your wood shop and not the wood shop in Warwick.
Right.
Well, he comes, signs up for that program freshman year, it's first quarter, does it, decides he doesn't like it, but likes the city, likes the town of Cumberland, likes the baseball coach, wants to play baseball here because you guys have a thriving baseball team.
Yes.
Okay, that's the last time I'll say it on the show.
What was that? I didn't hear you.
Yeah.
Well, we can't pay for new uniforms, though.
So now my son goes, I'm done with this. I don't want to do woods.
Thriving.
Oh, yes.
I don't want to do woods here anymore. My son can continue on with Cumberland for the next 4 years.
Oh, really?
And us, the financing district, can't call and go to Cumberland. Is he still enrolled in Woods? Can you send us his transcript? None of that has to be answered by that
How
district.
does that make any sense?
that's
The whole point of him
forecasted.
going is because of that.
I can't.
So that's
And then you have to
forecasted, right?
provide. You have to provide busing
Yep.
for that child from Warwick to Cumberland.
Yes.
We are back from our very long, almost day and a half, 2-day break. Anyways, we were just in the same clothes. All right.
Stuff like
So
that.
when we left, so we were talking. I forget exactly what we were talking about, but
Unfunded mandates.
yes, we were talking about unfunded mandates. But we had something going on. Anyways, when you came in here tonight, so let me set the stage just a little bit. When I got on the phone with Shaun a couple weeks ago, I said to him, "We would love to have you on as a guest sometime. I know I know you're a busy guy. You're out there campaigning all the time for whatever it is that you're doing." And I don't think I said that to you, did I?
I don't really.
But I did say, if there's any issues that you want to talk about, come. We want to have you come on. And immediately, yes, unfunded mandates. Like that was what he said right away. And you had said to me that in your term, if there's anything that you could affect, it's that.
Absolutely.
And so that's why we're here. So you brought a list. I assume you brought a list to talk about tonight, and we talked about a lot of it, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. And the unfunded mandates thing is something I'm so passionate about because it helps two people here, or two sets of people. The first are taxpayers, because it relieves their pressure a little bit, right?
Yeah.
They don't have to continue to increase the maintenance effort of the school districts, not only in Warwick, but every city and town. And the second is the students. If I can get better pricing on out-of-district transportation, I can put that money towards maybe buying new uniforms for all the sports teams, or a new sound system for our theater. That's what I want to do. I want to reinvest that money versus wasting it and just going and buying the top of the line, service, because that's what I was told I had to go and purchase, when I can get the same service or the same quality and reliable service or product for a lesser price. So, we touched on, the CCRI dual enrollment and how the students can get, free education if they have a certain grade point average when they graduate high school. But while they're in high school and they're just trying to better themselves, the city or town has to pay for it. We talked about how the state is using SATs and PSATs as their measure of secondary students and how they're performing at our expense, even if the child has no ambitions going into college. We know kids that want to go into the trades, and then usually military people, they're a different breed.
Yeah.
People that want to go into the military. There's very few kids that graduate on graduation day and go, I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm going to go sign up for the military. It's like, no, in this day and age, the kids usually are like, I'm going to go into the military. I'm going to do my X amount of years. I'm going to get a free college education thereafter. I'm going to get the signing bonus. So they don't care about the SATs or PSATs at that point, but we're still being told we have to purchase that. Out of district, we touched on the fact that, out of district tuition for kids mainly going through pathways programs is our biggest cost. And the fact that another city or town might have a same program that's certified through Rhode as their home district, and yet they're still able to go through it. So the big question there is, does Rhode Island today, in the month of September in 2025, have school choice or not? And if they do, then we need to change the funding formula for the state of Rhode Island. We touched on statewide transportation, and that's the state, the Rhode Island Department of Education saying this is the vendor who you're going to use, and this is going to be the cost, and that's going to be it, no questions asked, versus having the ability to quote out with Durham, Ocean State, First Student, and getting a lesser cost, which is an exercise Warwick went through, and we realized we can cut our costs by a third to almost 2/3, and that'd be multi-million-dollar savings for our residents in Warwick, and the same might be true for residents of Cumberland or wherever your listeners are listening from. We talked about DCYF placements and how the money in all these other situations follows the student, with the exception of DCYF placements.
Yeah.
In those cases, it doesn't. And then lastly is curriculum. Curriculum, we're in the tech age. We've got to just accept it. I know a lot of people talk about kids and their handwriting and everything else. I get it. I understand it.
I like cursive.
Yeah, I get it. Folks, I get it. But we're in the tech age. Curriculum's moving towards electronics. Most schools are giving their children or their students Chromebooks. A lot of the stuff is electronic based. And that's so that way it's all data and metrics for the school system and for Ride. And we're told what curriculum packages we have to purchase. If the intent is I just want your kids need to learn multiplication, well, if I can find a software that teaches them multiplication at a quarter of the cost, why can't I use that one versus the one that you're telling me I have to use because you want to be able to access? Math is math, exactly. So, those are the big ones that I brought you.
Well,
yeah.
Unless you get that Common Core crap.
Those
2 + 2 might equal 5, as long as you figure out how to get there the right way.
Oh, I can't. My kids are showing me how they're doing math now, and there's a triangle, and you've got to cut this number out. We could go on about this for days, but those are the big ones that I brought here tonight. We touched on multi-language learners just a little bit. Again, welcoming multi-language learners into our district, but the Ride saying if you have X amount, you got to go hire a multi-language coordinator, and that's to bridge the gap between the school district and those families to say, come to Warwick, come to this town, come to that town, because we have these services that we could provide to you. And it's like, well, why do I need that? I need to hire a professional marketing person for my district. So those are the big ones. But, if I could say anything to your viewers today, it's reach out to your school committee.
Yeah.
Ask them, what are the unfunded mandates for our cities and towns?
I'm going to find that out for sure. I'll submit a...
What is the cost? What are you doing to address it? Because at the end of the day, I don't think any school committee member statewide would say, let's cut this, let's get rid of this. But they would say, give us that financial autonomy to provide the same level of service, the same quality of product to these students, but at a cheaper cost because we have the opportunity to go out and get additional pricing.
Oh, yeah.
So let me ask this question. I know that when we did the budget for 2026, or when we were going through the budget season, right?
Yep.
The school submitted a request for, was it I think it was like $1.7 million.
Oh, yeah, $1.8 million, yeah.
An increase from the zero base that they usually would, right? They only ended up eventually, so the mayor had kicked it back to them, said zero your budget, and start from scratch.
Zero-based budgeting.
Zero-based budgeting.
For, okay.
Yep. And so when they came back with 1.2 million.
Correct.
Because the state had funded them or had given them some
additional state
additional
allocation.
funding.
Yes. Is there strings with that?
Well, we only gave them 800. Town only gave them 800.
Yeah, right.
So I don't know where the other 400
they
is
didn't
going
get
to
it.
come from.
But at any rate, though, they didn't. So their initial request came down because the state had given them funding.
State gave them like 600,000, and the town gave them like 800.
And what was this? What was the city planning for from the state?
So
when they were budgeting, were they saying we're going to probably get 400,000? They got 6, or were they budgeting 8 and they got 6 from the state?
So this was supposed to be unfunded money that they didn't have. Yeah, it was 1.8 million is what they were short on their budget.
My question,
8 million.
1.8.
1.8.
Yeah.
My question is, are there strings attached to that from the state to the school? Like, does the school now have to use that money for specific things? Do they?
Oh, yeah.
Are they now?
Yeah.
Like some of these. So you say unfunded. Like somebody said, I think it was you, or somebody said when we were in a break or whatever, that the funding should be shouldn't be coming from the state, really. It should be coming from the towns. And that's usually how they get their hooks in, is they give you money, and then they say, all right, now that I gave you money, now you have to do this, and that.
So with state allocation for education, the money must be spent on education. So the money doesn't come directly from the state to the school department. The money comes from the state to the city.
Okay.
And then that city basically has that bank account for that specific department. The city cannot take that money.
Just going to ask that question.
The city cannot take that money. If they do, it's highly illegal.
So what would be considered education? It's like, what would they?
No, it's education. It's to your school department.
To the school, okay. All
so
right.
if Warwick got $50 million from the state of Rhode Island in state allocation, that check to the city of Warwick, that 50 must be used for education. There can't be any deals between the school committee and the state and the city where it's like, hey, give me a couple extra this year in money to cover this, and if we fall short next year or whatever, or if we get additional money next year, we'll give you whatever additional state allocation we get in. Can't. If that money comes in for from the state for education, it needs to be appropriated to education.
Yeah. So the city couldn't say, all right, we're going to set up an educational event over here using some of this
education, regular ed.
So I know that's a stupid question. It just struck me though when we were talking about funding from the state down to the principalities, so on and so forth.
I'll tell you one cool thing that we just did in Warwick with regards to like funding, and it was very creative. And I give credit to the city's finance director and the finance director for the school department. City's getting opioid funds.
Oh,
right?
Really?
You know how
I don't know yet. I don't know anything.
Yeah, you know how cities get opioid funds or funds for.
I don't know anything.
I did not know that.
I forget what it's classified as. It's not called opioid funds, but it's a settlement relative to settlement.
Oh, okay.
And so with school departments having programs for drug awareness, right? Typically, we would be funding that through our own budget, but you can use those city funds. And the city and the school department actually collaborated very nicely here in the past couple of weeks to draw down the total need on our maintenance of effort within the school department using those funds from that settlement. So that was a very cool thing. So it's something for Cumberland and all of your viewers at home to consider with their respective cities and towns.
I feel like nothing's going to happen, unfortunately. I feel like that won't happen because just with my, as a reporter dealing with the school committee, none of them want to make any decisions. They're glued to these lawyers. They cling.
Well, that's who makes the decisions.
They cling to everything these lawyers say. And the superintendent.
The man behind the screen over there.
Oh, yeah, no doubt. Yeah.
They cling to it. And
but that's the difference between leaders and just people that toe the line. And so that's when your voters go to the polls, they not only need to look at qualifications and what a person stands for, but you also have to look at is this going to be a person that's going to toe the line, or are they going to be a person that stands up for stuff? Because if you don't stand for anything, you fall for everything is the line, and I truly believe in that. And so
that's a great line.
Yeah, I very much believe in that.
100%.
That, and I got a couple wooden nickels to give you to pay my bar tab.
what's on them? That might make a difference. Anyway, well, unless you have something else to share with us, I think we covered quite a bit of stuff.
Yeah, no, I just want to thank you both. I want to thank Cumberland Podcast. I want to thank the man behind the screen over here.
The assistant producer.
Yeah, this is the second time, as we said at the start of the show, that I've had this great opportunity to come on here. I'd love to come back on again. There's so much education related in the state that we could discuss. We can go on for days, but I really appreciate you guys giving me the opportunity. As I mentioned, I'm going to be speaking with the Rhode Island Young Republicans on unfunded mandates. I'm going to be speaking with the Young Democrats of Rhode Island on this. I'm going to continue to march on at the State House and hopefully get more support from other cities and towns and their school committees and school boards. This is something that needs to be addressed. It's massive financial relief for each city and town. It's common sense legislation, but more importantly, it's non-partisan. So whether you're left or right in this vitriol state that we're in this
it's what makes
society,
sense.
it's what makes sense.
Well, we want to see you successful. So if there's absolutely anything that we can do,
thank you.
We are
Thank you.
Definitely good luck going forward.
Make your checks
Good
payable
luck.
to friends of Shaun Galligan.
That's right. Yeah.
Right. Is there a place that people?
Because actually, your election is what, next September?
Yep.
Did I hear somebody say you were running for like?
Or November?
Yeah, we don't know what's going to happen next year.
November, September.
Yeah, next year. Yep. So next year, we serve 4-year terms in the city of Warwick on the school committee. I was elected in November of 2022. Very fortunate, had a good base of people that supported me, believed in what I stood for, knew that I stood for the kids first and foremost. And here we are. We're wrapping up year 3. 2 years, my colleagues have supported me. I've been chairman of the school committee. Served the first year as vice chair. Next year will be my 4th year on the school committee. Declare in the month of June. If we're going to continue to do this or do something different, and then September and November would be the primary and the general. So we'll see what happens. We don't know. We don't know.
would like it if you did come here and declared it for us.
Oh. that might be, can I bring the whole family though? Because it's a family decision.
Hell yeah.
We need more cheers for the boys and then the wife. I don't know. And do you have the censor button when she starts swearing when I declare? Because if she's outnumbered at that point when we say it, you're going to need to have that beep button.
Yeah. So yeah, we'll have it. We'll have it. Anyway,
but thank you guys so much. This is
great.
Awesome, this is cool.
Tell people where to go follow you and do.
You can follow me on Facebook, Shaun Galligan, Warwick School Committee District 1. That's the best spot. If you have any questions, Galligan, Galligan, the number 4 School Committee as it's sounds, and at gmail.com. You can email me in any questions that you may have on school-related matters, not just in Warwick, but statewide, and I'll give my best to give you an answer. So
rock and roll. And if you're a listener of ours, go to Cumberland Unfiltered on YouTube, on I think Rumble,
Spotify, Apple.
Just search up Cumberland Unfiltered. Anywhere you go, search Cumberland Unfiltered, and we're there. And we'd love to hear from you. Again, this has been another episode of The Rhode Report.
I like it.
That's a wrap.